Coming up on this episode of The Village Idiom.
I buy my guns from a guy named T-Rex. He's a small arms dealer.
I was drinking.
Dum dum da da. Village Idiom.
Hello and welcome to The Village Idiom.
We are a podcast that every week we choose a popular saying and take an admittedly shallow, hopefully comedic, once in a while interesting, if we're really lucky, educational dive into its usage, its meaning, its origins, but mostly we're going to use it to hang our otherwise directionless conversation on. My name is Jurassic Mark.
And I am Skinny.
Welcome to part 2.
It's the double-barreled episode.
Part pew pew.
And the lasers. Pew pew. This one is both chambers. This is the double-barreled shotgun of episodes.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. This is the 12 gauge of episodes.
That's great. You got more?
No, I just keep buckshot, birdshot.
Last week was part A. This week is part BB.
Nice.
Stretching.
Keep the dad jokes rolling. Yeah, same clothes, same filming. We are. This is the big carry-on of part 2. Let's jump into what are today's idioms.
Well, we were rifling through a bunch of idioms that have to do with firearms or shooting or guns, and so you can go back and listen. But we had previously done, like 2 years ago, we did sitting shotgun, bite the bullet, son of a gun, flash in the pan, shoot the breeze. Last week, go grab that one quick and then listen to that one first, and then chime in right now. Then tune in right now. Last week, we covered shotgun wetting, sweating bullets, and going off half-cocked, and we're going to pick up where we left off.
We've got our sights set on these next ones.
So let's see here.
We should get into, well...
Do you want to get into it right away, or do you have more preamble, as you call it?
Well, nothing has particularly happened since 5 minutes ago.
Well, you're giving away, like...
But it could have.
All right. Well, here's the next one I had.
I would like to prove...
Sorry.
I would like to...
Lock, stock, and barrel.
Which, again, does not make sense.
Lock, stock, and barrel from Roger Rabbit, by the way.
Stock, action, and barrel.
Yeah, I wonder if it's... I didn't find any reference to this, but I wondered if lock, stock, and barrel was an old... Like, they didn't always call it action. Maybe the old bolt guns was called a lock or something. I never came across that. I was making that up in my head now.
So as part of the safety course, yeah, it was one of those. There's the 3 parts of the firearm: the stock, the action, and then the barrel. Yeah. And so I can't even hear that now without being upset.
The lock, stock, and barrel.
I'm vexed.
Well, maybe the origins will help you with that.
Maybe they're entirely different this time.
What, the origins?
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, maybe it does. Maybe. Should we get into origins right away?
No.
He's saying no after I've pressed play on things.
Where'd they go? No one can know. I turned around and looked behind. Those words came from another mind. Origin.
So I think you'll find this a little bit interesting because lock, stock, and barrel, or stock, action, and barrel, as we learned. Here's one theory of where lock, stock, and barrel comes from, and it's not firearms. Well, it is a little bit. I'll just tell you. I found it suggested that this phrase refers to all of a shopkeeper's possessions. So the stock that he had, whatever he's selling.
Perfect. I didn't know that, but
it's stock in trade,
I'm
right?
happier now.
Yeah. The items stored in barrels.
Makes sense.
Back in the day.
Lock, stock, and barrel.
And the lock on the door.
I like it.
Right?
Because it's not
so
to do
lock,
with firearms.
Stock, and barrel. However, this explanation I heard called more than once fanciful. So the whole thing was in question when this phrase was originated because the musket was composed of 3 parts. The lock, or the flintlock. Which is the firing mechanism. Various forms of the lock muskets were used in the 1400s forward. The term lock was probably adopted because the mechanism resembles a door lock, but that feels like a stretch.
It's actually called a flintlock.
It is called a flintlock, yeah. So you don't need it to look like anything. It's called a flintlock. The stock, which is the wood or the butt end of the gun. The stock is the old term for it's not even an old term. It's still what it's called, the butt end or the stump end of the base of the gun. So as early as 1495, in association with Tudor guns, It was we'll come back to that maybe if we have time. There's some connections to laughing stock, but maybe we'll save that for its own idiom. And then the barrel, that is a cylindrical object, which is an even older word obviously. This is why it may be actually the shopkeeper's thing, because the musket part of the gun was not a barrel. I think it was called a musket.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they would have been familiar.
So they're not collectively a musket.
They would have only been familiar at the time of this being said. They would have only been familiar with barrels, meaning the squat coopered tubs used for storage, which are not at all similar to the cylindrical tubes that are now used in rifles and stuff. So it may be that the term migrated from like cannons and other barrel-shaped things, but lock, stock, and barrel.
I like the shopkeeper one.
Yeah, it could have come from shopkeeper.
That one totally,
shopkeepers,
that one totally
not
gets
rifles.
my vote. Well, it's when you were shooting all half-cocked on getting these your videos rolling or your audio rolling, and I think it's important that it just like a firearm.
Yeah.
That you prove the video. You prove things. Do you remember what the PROVE acronym stood for?
Oh, I see where this goes. So we went over the acronym ACTS, ACTS last week. This week, PROVE. So P, point the muzzle in the safest possible direction.
Nice.
R, remove all ammunition.
Remove ammo.
O, observe the chamber.
Observe
the bore. PROV, verify the
feed.
Verify the
feed.
The feed path, yeah. Mm-hmm. And PROVE is examine the bore.
Examine the bore.
Yeah. Oh wait, what was the observe part? Observe. Oh, you just look down the chamber.
Yeah, the visual observation.
Examine the bore is actually putting something into the bore to ensure that it is empty.
Yeah, all these little safety things that like you'll never forget because you end up doing it in the course like so many times.
Like, I know, like he really
prove it.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to say it again. When you just approach the web, prove it.
Yeah,
like just first thing you do is prove it.
And when you're tested, he doesn't tell you to prove it. He just expects you to.
Yeah, being able to prove the weapon.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
It was good. Yeah,
very educational.
And the word rifle actually comes. I found this out today. Comes from a French word, rifle. I don't know that's how you say it, but RIFLER, which means to scratch or to scrape, because the word rifle means the spiral engraving inside the barrel of a long-barreled rifle. So it's called rifling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's where the word rifle actually comes from. And lock, stock, and barrel should and really does refer to muskets, not rifles. But, lock, stock, and barrel. Shopkeeper. I'm going with shopkeeper, even though muskets were around.
I like the shopkeeper. And depending on where people got things back in the day, I did come across this. I buy my guns from a guy named T-Rex. He's a small arms dealer.
I was drinking. That is fantastic. Wow. Did you find that, or did you just make that one up?
No, I found it. When I was looking around, I just came across it. I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, I know you like your dinosaur-themed things.
Yeah, I really do. The lock, stock, and barrel was, while we were sitting in that safety course, he never used the words lock, stock, and barrel. Like you said, it was action, stock, and barrel. But it was when he said and showed the image, action, stock, and barrel, that I wrote a note. All firearms related idioms in one episode.
Oh, okay.
So really? It was right there. And then I had to concentrate on the instructions because I was just like, okay, like shooting fish in a barrel. No, not that one. I'm like writing down notes of what we should do our next episode about instead of paying attention to my safety course. But I must have paid attention enough because I passed with flying colors. You got 100% on your written test.
Well,
I didn't get 100. I did the classic.
But I asked for clarification
on questions.
Yeah, and so because I did that, I would have got it messed up anyway.
So I know my mistakes were, one was he warned us. Some of these have a double negative. Make sure you read the question right.
I hate that.
That was mine. It's one of those. It's like, I don't even remember. It was something about shooting a stop sign.
So
and it said instead of just and so I know you're not allowed to shoot a stop sign. So I'm like, no, or false, whatever it was. It's like, oh,
you should not shoot a stop sign.
Something like that.
Not.
And I'm like,
what does that mean?
Garbage. And then the other one was, we're going to get into full bore, but it's basically the spread of a shotgun based on the bore of your gun and firearms. He never used the word gun. Did you notice that? Is it proper to just say firearm?
I don't know. Maybe just because it covers so many things.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a spectrum of what type of bore you have, and so how far or how big of a spread your shotgun balls. What are they called? Shotgun. The shot. Thank you. How much it will spread or not. How direct it'll be. And I had the notes in my book. I wrote it like from A to Z in order, and somehow memorized the terminology backwards. So that got me 2 different questions about the same thing wrong.
That sucks.
Because I had it memorized backwards in the term. So anyway, other than that, I got 100%.
Other than all them things I got wrong, I did good.
You know what I should have done? I should have slowed down and read it carefully, read over it again. The person next to me, we all had different tests. The person next to me, she was completely finished and went over and read it again. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I should have done that. Instead, I
did mine a second time as well.
I was like,
We're on a hair trigger here, people.
I was hair triggered. I was just answering, firing. Bang,
That's
bang,
a
bang,
funny
bang.
word.
Hair triggered.
Triggered.
That's the next one. Hair triggered.
Are you
that
going
was
to do
from
triggered?
Transformers, that little clip.
Is triggered a whole nother category for you? Should I wait?
Yeah, I have hair triggered and triggered.
Okay, do hair triggered. Tell me.
Hair
where does that
trigger.
come from?
Hair trigger is simple. It was figuratively used as early as 1841, but really has to do with your trigger is so sensitive on your firearm that even a hair touching
Even if you
it.
talk to it harshly, it'll go off.
What?
It's so sensitive.
Oh, I see. No, even if you brushed a hair against it, it would fire the.
You never do anything right.
Don't brush your hair against me. It would fire on the slightest touch, even a hair. That's what hair triggered means. And so
It's like one of them Looney Tunes when like a butterfly lands on the
this
car.
is so funny. I'm about to talk about Looney Tunes.
Oh, really?
So hair trigger, Hare, is also in 1945 Merry Melodies cartoon.
Mel Blanc's.
Fritz Freeling, actually. And it featured Bugs Bunny and was the first ever appearance of Yosemite Sam.
That is funny.
Yeah. And then
No, I was thinking more like the coyote when something's like teetering on the edge and then like a butterfly or something.
Oh, yeah,
will come
exactly.
through it.
Yeah. Like the straw that broke the camel's
The
back.
one thing that pushes it over, the hair trigger.
Yeah, so figuratively, you react quickly. I just was like answering my test so fast, I should have slowed down. You are just like go. You react so fast. You're like hair triggered. Slow down. Breathe in the moment. You get upset so quickly. You're hair triggered.
Is that what people say about me?
No, I'm just trying to give examples of that. Okay, I don't think I have a clip for triggered, so let's go right into triggered. That works well. Hair triggered to triggered.
Oh, I just wanted to talk about the word triggered.
Okay,
That's.
let's do it. Let's talk about it.
I find it fascinating that this, like we talked about with the mention of the word guns, that certain things just set people off.
Yeah.
And so
They get fired up.
But I'm not a fan of saying that I'm triggered.
Oh, I see.
Like, it's like, I don't know. It sounds like a whole vein of people who are ultra sensitive.
Yeah.
I'm triggered.
Yeah.
That triggers me.
Well, if you look in the dictionary, the word triggered or trigger even, there's so many definitions. I've got 11 here, which starts, the most obvious one is the finger operated lever on a firearm. But
How are you supposed to know, though? Well, it's like, that triggers me.
how am I supposed to know what triggers you?
Anybody. Like, so it's like just, it's like sensitivity identity.
Yes.
And so it's like putting yourself into this position where the sensitivity to something becomes your person.
Well, yeah. Well,
I'm triggered by that.
I don't know if this answers.
You bringing up the word triggered
Triggers you?
is my triggered.
Yeah.
Now I'm triggered.
Wasn't the Lone Ranger's horse Trigger? Am I getting that wrong? High Ho Silver. Who rode Trigger? Roy Rogers.
Trigger?
I think his horse's name was Trigger. It's a good name for a horse. He was triggered all the time, I guess. So I don't know if this answers your question or if that was even a legitimate question, but the concept of being triggered dates back to the early studies of post-traumatic stress disorder, so PTSD, after World War I, which I didn't even know PTSD, the term, was that old, because it seems kind of newer than that. But anyway, PTSD occurs when someone has endured trauma or coming out of war, abuse, attempted suicide, rape, all of those things that induce that level of stress or trauma can cause PTSD. So the reminders of that trauma are metaphorically said to trigger, because it's what fires that element in you. So triggers can be multisensory. It could be a sound or something you see, or even a smell.
About anything. And
yeah,
that's the part that I find.
So the psychological part of it is way overused right now. It's like, now we have movies and documentaries and episodes of podcasts that give a trigger warning because they don't know. But that list is endless.
Yeah, a certain word. I just find that
trigger warnings only came out in the 2010s.
So in like a public workspace, like I had someone different scenarios. There's a person who genuinely has so it's not like a verbal trigger. It's that they have sensitivities to smells.
Okay.
And requested that if we could make a broad public announcement for people to not wear deodorant or perfume.
Okay.
And so it was like trying to control the environment by getting everyone else to change their thing. And I'm like, oh man,
everyday.
Like people are not gonna I have hundreds of people. It's like, please don't wear deodorant here. It's just
so if that happened, that would trigger me. If nobody was wearing deodorant,
you would be triggered by everybody reeking.
Smell everybody's. I'd rather have an allergic reaction to your deodorant than smell whatever BO you're carrying around.
So it's trying to conform the environment to be like safe for you. So if it's like, if little Johnny has shellfish, then like we shouldn't have shellfish around. But then there's like like licorice gives me like I break out in hives at the the smell of licorice or strawberries or something. Like, where does it end? There's no peanut butter. There's no deodorant. There's no strawberries.
I don't know if his microphones
no
are picking up the fists that Skinny is pounding on the desk here.
I just don't, it's maddening.
Yeah, I know.
To like, what do you do with all of these things? Don't mention this. Don't say that. Don't. Anyways, so when you're talking about triggered,
it also depends. Like if there was somebody in my household that had a deathly allergic reaction to peanuts, there's not going to be peanuts in this house. And I will warn people coming into this house, please leave your M&M peanuts in the car.
Fair enough. In your own home?
In your own
That's
home.
a fine thing.
Yeah.
Public arenas is
once you go into the public, you have to take care of yourself. Not that others can't be sensitive once you know somebody, but if you're going into the public with a placard saying
one whiff of peanut, or if I touch a peanut, I'll die.
Yeah.
That's a tricky way to live. And so like there's like the empathy towards that, but it's like, I don't know, unless they're going to remove peanut butter off the shelves, someone's going to have peanut butter.
Right.
Like that's just how it's going to be. Yeah.
And then
So if you're eating shellfish peanut butter sandwiches
and don't want me to have shellfish, you're just being selfish.
You're being shellfish. Makes complete sense.
Well, that's all I had for being triggered. Any more thoughts on that?
Not on that particular thing. In terms of sensitivity, there's been an increased sensitivity to like surveillance. People feeling surveyed.
Surveilled.
I'm just having a stroke right now, I think.
It's surveilled. I heard it used the other day.
Surveilled?
Yeah, and I'm like, that can be said as a verb like that?
Surveilled.
Surveillance is the noun. Being surveilled, it's a verb. Yeah.
Yeah, where people
sounds wrong.
Yeah, it does sound wrong. Yeah, people are just like concerned about being surveilled.
I'm kind of with them.
Yeah?
Yeah, like it is what it is as our, world moves on. Mm-hmm. But, there are some countries that have surveillance like to the next level. Mm-hmm. And there are the issues come with zero privacy.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some things you're like, the immediate reaction of like, well, I've got nothing to hide.
Yeah, I don't either.
And then, yeah, but I'm also like, I lean to like, well, I don't like, doesn't mean I'm leaving all my blinds open so people can stare at me all the time.
Yeah, like if you're a YouTuber, you put what you want to be seen on YouTube. But what if everything you did was put on YouTube?
Yeah, that's not good.
Right.
Right.
And I don't mean, obviously, you have privacy within your home. To a point, we're welcoming surveillance into our homes by
filming
Alexa and Google Homes and all that kind of stuff.
A funny gag. Someone was saying, I was talking with my spouse about like, this whole thing and surveillance, and she's like, "Oh, you're crazy," and then she laughed, and then I laughed, and then Alexa laughed.
Exactly. That's it right there.
Yeah. So who knows how much the government is interested in when you go to the washroom. But anyways, just talk about things that are, I don't know, triggering or people get wound up about.
Yeah.
Just fill out, I don't know, just pay with your credit card. I'll pay with my credit card. I don't want the people knowing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't pay cash.
Right.
Like, cash is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it'll get even more interesting when social credit kicks in, if it ever does, because then you can be surveilled. It's like, oh, you spent your money on these fossil fuels. You no longer have money for those products anymore.
You're like you're in there.
I'm aware of people's conspiracy theories.
That sounded personal though. Like you were like.
I still use my credit card to get gas. Don't worry. I drive a Jeep. My social credit has gone out the window.
You don't have windows.
That's right. I have nothing to worry about.
You're fine.
That's right. Okay, well, let's keep going. Here's another one. Pirates of the
Full bore and into the abyss.
Full bore and into the abyss.
Well, this is what you're talking about with your test, your exam.
Full
bore, restricted.
The numbers I got wrong, the questions I got wrong were because I went in half-cocked. I was hair-triggered and went in full bore.
That's awesome.
Firing on all. Oh, that's not a weapon. So full bore. When I went to see if this was
full bore means there's no restrictor in it.
Right. So when I went to look up, is this firearm related or not? It seems like it would be because here's a funny quote that I didn't even know was a term, but this here's a quote that opened up this conversation in my own world. Mr. Clinton proposes only small bore reforms. Opined the New York Times in an editorial about Medicare. A couple of weeks earlier, a cheerful harangue in the same space about tax cuts included a prepositional phrase, but the economy is now operating at full bore. So there was a phrase talking about full bore, and he wanted only small bore reforms. So there's a little bit of conflict there, first of all, because shouldn't the opposite of small bore be big bore, or shouldn't the opposite of full bore be empty bore? But
we learned at the firearms course that full bore, there's a like restrictors that can be screwed into the end of a shotgun, and so it's a restricted bore, so it gives a tighter pattern versus the full bore, which is the widespread of a shotgun.
Right. So some lexicographers think that the bore that's used in this terminology isn't from firearms.
About a pig.
No. But still, BORE has to do with engine cylinders. So there are some citations that go back to the 20s, but a lot of others think that its origin is from the measurement of the inside of the barrel of a gun. So the barrel is the long part of the gun. The bore is the entire tunnel inside that may be rifled or not. The muzzle is the end of said barrel. So it's not confusing, but it's slightly confusing.
You have to put in the restrictor
because the barrel is basically the outside of the bore. The bore is the inside of the barrel.
You put it into the muzzle,
and the muzzle is the exit point.
You have to put it into the muzzle, but it restricts the bore because it tapers down.
The restrictor, right? Yeah.
So the full bore is no restrictor.
Right, and this changes what we talked about. Was it this episode or the one before about the spread of the shot when you're using a shotgun? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, full bore would be no restrictors. So you're full on going. So whether it's from a barrel of a gun or an engine, bore has an extended use, and it seems to be attributed in either case to the Royal Air Force in World War II. Here's another quote. "I went after him full bore," recounted the ace C.H. Ward Jackson in 1943. "There was a need for a new full since full sail, full blast, full steam were obsolete. They switched to full bore." And so they're pretty sure it came from the Royal Air Force, unsure as to whether it has to do with firearms, barrel of a rifle, or engines. But either way, Royal Air Force, most likely we're talking about some sort of firearm. So that is full bore.
That completes out the list, eh?
No. Let's see if I got, I don't know if I have a clip here. I don't have a clip, but we've got itchy trigger finger.
Okay.
So an itchy trigger finger is someone that has an itchy trigger finger. They're inclined to shoot a gun at someone else without any good reason or unexpectedly. That's a direct definition. But if you have an itchy trigger finger without an actual firearm, it just means you're quick to react. A little bit different than a hair trigger, because hair trigger is a quick reaction. Itchy trigger finger would be like you like to react. Like you're not just quick to have a reaction. You want this. You want this, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's itchy trigger finger. I still have two more. We have time?
No. Well, you're going to have to be quick. Just give us
Okay, let's see. Okay. Shoot from the hip. Someone who shoots from the hip, you're rash, you're impulsive. A lot of them have similar meanings, but it's like a gunslinger who draws the gun from the holster, fires it without raising it. We already talked about that the accuracy in old westerns is completely wrong. Shooting from the hip is a very random firing, but it's somebody who, like, sometimes you'll see somebody who just like, I'm going to wing it. Mm-hmm. That's someone who shoots from the hip. And here's our last one, getting fired from a job. So I was like, does this have anything to do? The most popular explanation for why we say someone was fired from the job goes back to when civilizations were evolving and all had to work and trade so that everyone's needs were met. And here, listen to this. I didn't know this. If someone wasn't contributing to the community or they were hurting the greater good of the society, other people would burn down their homes. And when they would see this, they would know they were not wanted and they would move on. So you were literally fired from work or trade in the community.
Wow.
Because you weren't carrying your weight.
You were snuffed like Survivor.
Yeah. Another explanation is that people adopted the phrase fired or fired out to mean someone was expelled from a place, just as a bullet is expelled from a firearm. And some historians say it was shortened to fire because it's just easier to say it, but it means fired. You were expelled. You were shot out. You were
That's
gone.
Great.
Yeah.
That actually is so fantastic.
Right.
You were expelled.
So
you got fired.
Before we completely conclude and play Riddle Inc., here's the ones we didn't yet cover.
Okay.
Bringing a knife to a gunfight, smoking gun, dead eye, dodge a bullet, in the crosshairs, jump the gun, keep your powder dry, like shooting fish in a barrel, it's a long shot, packing heat, a powder keg, shoot off one's mouth, shoot oneself in the foot, and silver bullet.
Wow.
We could have gone
Maybe we'll pick up on one or two of those other ones like when we start to get into the 400s or 500s.
Sounds good.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of firearm reference idioms.
Yeah, and we're running long, only covering half of the ones we decided to do. So
that's awesome. Well, we are being cognizant of the time because we know that the time you spend exercising is limited.
Right,
is something that we've surveyed with our illegitimate children, and so we should get into the game.
The game is Riddle Inc., and it's a game we play that takes a two-part trivia-based question and requires a two-part overlapping answer, overlapping by syllables, or word or words. So, for example, last week, part one of this Guns and Ammo two-parter was, what did we leave with them? Was it the Paris one?
Yep.
Okay. This long-barreled firearm is Paris's pride and joy. One more time. This long-barreled firearm is Paris's pride and joy. Did you get that one?
I'm thinking that's a Rifle Tower.
Rifle Tower. The answer isn't rifle. The answer isn't Eiffel Tower.
Thank
it's
you.
Rifle Tower. That's how you play riddling.
Thank you, Scooby-Doo.
Rifle Tower.
Well,
Okay.
I've got a couple prepared.
I've got a couple prepared.
Let me jump in here.
All right.
This is pretty tight. I was proud of the wording. Chomp your ammunition in Matrix slow-mo.
Oh,
Chomp your ammunition in Matrix slow-mo.
there's a term for that?
Yes,
I mean,
there
it's bite
is.
the bullet.
The legitimate children know what it is.
Oh, man. Bullet time frame. I don't know. Bite the bullet.
Did you just pull that out of your
Bullet frame. Is it time frame?
It's bullet time.
Bullet time.
Matrix
Nice.
slow-mo is called bullet time.
That's great. That's great. I'm proud of myself. I must have had it back in the Rolodex somehow.
Yeah, it's crazy that you pulled that out of your ear like that. Yep. Bite the bullet time.
Bite the bullet time. Okay. Well, I've got a couple here. Let's start with this one. This father of the bride forced ceremony is sending out cards for the event.
Oh,
This father of the bride forced ceremony is sending out cards for the event.
that would be a shotgun wedding invitation.
That's correct.
The legitimate children, see if you can beat Jurassic Mark to the punch. I think they might be able to on this one.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna act quick then.
Okay, I'm not sure
I got an itchy trigger
I'm
finger.
not sure how up
Bring it
you are
on.
on your Lord of the Rings.
Oh no.
That's why I think they could beat you. Of all nerd stuff, this is not your forte.
It's not.
No restrictor in the barrel for this son of Gondor. No restrictor in the barrel for this son of Gondor.
I may not know much about Lord of the Rings, but I know this. This is full boring. Am I right?
No.
What is it?
The son of Gondor. For legitimate children, you know.
I don't know.
You might be screaming it. He is Boromir.
Boromir.
Yeah, so it's
If you,
it's full Boromir.
If you need a shave, but you don't have a bathroom, you might need to borrow a mirror. Okay, well, I got one more, but let's leave this one dangling out there for everyone and tell people how they can play along.
The legitimate children, we would love to hear from you on Instagram at the.village.idiom or email us thevillageidiompodcast@gmail.com, or whether it's the Facebooks, the YouTubes, or the Twitters at 3 or the X at 3 minutes gone.
Here it is. The thing you pull on your firearm is also irregular military actions carried out by small independent forces. The thing you pull on your firearm is also irregular military actions carried out by small independent forces.
I don't know what this is. That is
I
3
think-
minutes
I think
gone.
you do.
I'm chewing on it in my brain, and my brain matter doesn't know what the answer is.
It's
Okay,
not. It's
well-
such a short little syllable overlap that it's.
Okay, well, the legitimate children can beat me to this one.
Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you for tuning into this double-barreled episode.
Nice.
It was fun putting it together.
It was a blast.
Fun. So sick. Oh,
We should have had a trigger warning at the beginning of this as well.
You should have. Well, that was good. I'm Skinny.
I'm Jurassic Mark.
These are the Village Idioms.
That's 3 minutes gone.